Hello everyone, thank you everyone, every one of you are watching my videos, and apart from that, I am going to prepare one second part of the hotel application. So in this hotel application, I am going to perform one task. That is, our task is to perform login validation of owner. So to perform login validation of owner, what is our first task? Our first task is to create a HTML form. So like this, it will be right here. But before that, I want to just have some recap of the previous uh, task that we have done. Okay, here you can see how it is performed. So whenever we create any object, internally what is happening here we can see here. So first this page will be loaded to the user. The user will be providing his email and password after clicking on submit. But before that, okay, this MVC form is connected with this owner object, as I told in the previous videos also. So this object is connected to this MVC form with the help of this owner model attribute value. Okay, this value is connecting the owner object to this MVC form. So this create owner JSP is nothing but which contains, okay, these MVC form tags are present inside this create owner JSP. So whenever a user provides his email and password, as soon as he clicks on submit button, immediately the save owner URL is invoked, and this task will be performed like this. Like, model attribute is responsible to provide the object which collecting the data, and it is collected in these arguments, and then it is forwarded to the DAO layer, which returns a message. This message will be reflected inside the owner message JSP. This is what we have covered. Now let's get back to our task. So our task is to perform login validation of owner. So to perform login validation of owner, so here our first task is to create HTML form in any of the login page, and then we have to provide functionality for the URL as usual that we have covered in many videos. So our first task. So let us write in a notepad so that you can easily follow. So first task, create owner login JSP. Our first task is to create owner login JSP. So I will be creating owner login JSP using web app. Owner login. I'm using all lowercase letters for this web web files, JSP or HTML, anything. So we'll be creating normal HTML form. Loading. Form. So here just I will name the action attribute as owner login, and I want to hide all the details from the address bar. So for that we have to use a method type post. So post is the secured one. We'll hide all the details. So now here we'll be providing email input tag type equals to email, and here name attribute to collect the data. You already know about this name. Here we'll name it as email, and we'll use break tag. Password password, name attribute, password, and submit button. So we'll name it as login. And here what we will do, we'll use between the middle of the page. So Control X, we'll use center tag. We'll save. After saving this, okay, here action begins. Whenever user provides his email and password, as soon as he clicks on submit button, it will invoke this URL. Actually, the value which is given for the action attribute is considered as URL. So I have shown you in this image. Okay, means we have to provide functionality for this owner login URL like this. So where we can provide this functionality? Inside the owner controller. Okay, inside the owner controller. So let us go for the owner controller and provide the functionality for owner login. So here in order to accept the request, we use request mapping, owner login, public void owner login, and I am going to use HTTP servlet request to get the data from the HTML request, comma, HTTP servlet response. So now to collect the data from the HTML form. So all the data will be in the form of string format. String email equals to request dot get parameter. So here the value should be given which is given inside the owner login JSP. So what is the value? Email. Just copy this and you have to provide it here, as well as string password equals request dot get parameter. Here the same value which is given for the name attribute in the JSP form. So now we can retrieve the data from the HTML form which is provided by the user. Now we have to perform login validation. It's very simple, nothing to worry. Like here you can use if else block. Okay, so I will use if. So here what I will do, like I will play some full trick. Email dot equals, I will use string. Okay, I'm validating admin @gmail.com. So if the email is provided admin@gmail.com, what I have to do, I have to print email ID is valid, else invalid credentials. Now let us run this file so that you can understand here what is happening. Whenever user provides his email and password, it is retrieved using request and response objects, and those values are stored within the email as well as password variables, and from the email it is collected and it is compared with the admin@gmail.com. If the email is matching with this, the output is printed on the console screen as email ID is valid. If it is not matching with this, as usual, you all know already about this. It's very simple. Now let us check how it will be working. So I am running this file. As you can see, owner login JSP is loaded. To increase the so here we'll be providing admin@gmail.com. I'll write something else password and I will click on login. So we don't get any kind of output because we did not use any print writer object, right? So once we'll go and check in the console screen. See here you can see the output email ID is valid, right? We are successful in that. So once again we can check out if we provide the wrong details, what happens. I'll write some other email ID and I will click on login. So I got different some blank page and I will go and check in the console screen. You can see here invalid credentials. Okay, and at the same time I've used a post. So when we use post method, the details are not reflected on the address bar. So now what I will use, get I will use. So if I use get method type, you can see the difference between post and get method types. So I'll be providing some email ID here, some password, and I will click on login. Now can you see the difference? So in the previous, when we used the post method type, these details are not reflected on the address bar. So when we use post, the details will be hidden. So post is more secure compared to get. Hope you get understood. So we'll use post for validation and saving the data purpose. We use post most of the time. So we'll save this and our first task is successfully completed validation of login credentials. Okay, so our next task in this only. So here we have to send the owner details, right? We have to send the owner details. Somehow we performed owner login validation with the help of if else block. Now what we have to do, owner will be providing his actual details. So those actual details should be compared which is present inside the database. Okay, which is present inside the database. The data should be validated which is present inside the database application. So for that what we have to do? So we have to utilize DAO layer here. I can show you some image here. Now if you observe here, we provided functionality for the owner login URL inside the owner controller class. Now what we are going to do is inside the DAO class we will be writing one method that is find by email and password. So that it has some formal arguments as email and password. We'll be sending that email and password and here we'll be having one JPQL query, Java persistence query language. So it will be asking for details of the owner if we provide email and password. If the details are correct, it will return the owner object. If details are wrong, it will give no result exception and it returns null value. I hope you got this. It's very simple only. In the previous video also we have done this. So first go to the owner DAO class. Owner DAO class. So here we'll be writing public owner find by email and password string email string password. So here we are going to use query which belongs to Hibernate framework query. So while importing query you have to be very careful. Why? Because query is from different packages. We have to select from Java x.persistence. Remember that query q equals entity manager dot create query. While accessing this method, be careful. You have to use create query, not something else. So here we have to write JPQL query. Select. The difference between normal queries and JPQL queries is here aliasing of the table name or entity name is mandatory. Select O from owner. So we have to alias whenever we use JPQL commands. So it is mandatory. Where email is the column name, email equals to question mark. These are placeholder, and we have to provide index value and password equals question mark 2 q dot set parameter. So first placeholder, here we have to forward the email is and as argument q dot set parameter. Second, so here we have to provide password and if q not equals to null, so sorry we'll be using try and catch block. I'll tell you what is the reason for it. Very simple here. First I will do return q dot get single result. Here just I will write in this way so that you will understand why we are to write try and catch block. Okay, so now successfully we have completed find by email and password method. Our next task is to use that, means we have to call that method in this owner login function. So here I am providing owner equals owner DAO dot find by email and password. Okay, and here I'll be validating against the details inside database. Owner dot get email dot, sorry, anyhow it will return owner object, right? Owner not equals to null. Okay, if owner is null it will go for else block. If owner is not null it will return as email ID is valid. In the previous part, okay, we have saved some details, right? So these are the details. Okay, pankajkumar3@gmail.com. So Pankaj Kumar, so will be now will be validating that Pankaj Kumar, pankajkumar3@gmail.com. Pankaj 33. I'll click on login. So I got some blank page and we'll go and check in the console screen. So we got the value as email ID is valid. Okay. So now we'll provide some invalid credentials. I am providing some other details which are not present inside database login. See here, when I provide wrong details, okay, here we are getting some 500, the internal server error. So if there is no results with such details, we are ending with no result exception. So what is the exception name? No result exception. So we know that if details are not present inside database, it is returning one exception, that is no result exception. So we are going to utilize this. Okay. So we understood that inside the owner DAO, if we are providing the wrong email and password, it is returning no result exception at this position. So we are going to use the try and catch block. Try, return q dot get single result. Catch, no result exception. So we'll be returning null. Very simple, right? Now what we are going to do, just validate against this whether it is working or not. So it's very simple. I just use try and catch block with nothing else. Now we are going to check out how it is going to work. So now I will provide some other details which are not present inside the database. I will click on login. I got some blank page, so we are successful. Okay, we did not get any 500 internal server errors. So now we can go and check inside the console screen. It is mentioned as invalid credentials. So our task is successfully achieved. So what is our next task? Our next task, okay, is to display according to the credentials. If the credentials are valid, we have to display the home page. We have to display the home page. If the credentials are invalid, we have to display the login page. We have to display the login page. Successfully we have completed this process also. We have done just to utilize this owner as email and password, like by validating with the help of this find by email and password method. So here what is happening, just this is our next task, don't worry about this, just look over this. And here now we have to display home page. If the details are correct, we have to display home page. If details are wrong, we have to take the user to login page. Now how we are gonna perform this task? So we are going to utilize servlet. Okay, what is that? Servlet chaining. We are going to use servlet chaining. So in the case of servlet chaining, we can perform in two ways. One is using requested dispatcher, another one is using send redirect. So in this case I will be using requested dispatcher only. Okay, I will be using requested dispatcher. Here, before this I am going to use print writer object. I need print writer object, print writer, and I will name the variable name as out response dot get writer. It is carrying an exception, that is input output exception, checked exception. I will use requested dispatcher also. Requested dispatcher, requested dispatcher, dispatcher. Make sure the variable names will be dispatcher equals request dot get requested dispatcher. So here we have to name it as owner home. So we'll use lowercase letters only. Owner home JSP. We are getting some errors. What is request dispatcher, dispatcher equals request dot get requested dispatcher owner home or JSP, and I am using forward dispatcher dot forward. So it is carrying servlet exception. Just I raise the exception, and in else lock we are going to use requested dispatcher. But here a slight change will be here. That one. Done with this. And now our task is to take the user to login page when he is providing invalid credentials. So I am providing here owner login JSP file. Owner login JSP. So we have to create owner home JSP file. I'll be creating owner home JSP file, owner home JSP. Owner home JSP is created. Now I told you like what is the task of the owner actually. So it's very simple. We have seen the first part of the Hibernate mapping relation. So here in this first part, owner will be having a relationship between food products as well as worker. Since owner will be having many food products as well as owner will be linked with many workers also. So Here owner, as soon as he log in this like into his account with his credentials, he is able to create the food products as well as he is able to create the workers. So now in the owner homepage, we'll be providing the owner, okay, to create the food products as well as the workers. So we'll be using center tag as well as h1 tag to highlight, and we need anchor tag. So owner will be able to create food products as well as, so now I don't have any URLs for now. I'll keep hash. So here I will be writing create food product, and here I will be providing hash create worker. So this is the home page of the owner, and here the login page. So we have done this, and when it comes to here, save this class. Now we'll perform login operation. Provide the details. Pankaj ma3@gmail.com is loading the application. Application is being loaded. Pankaj 33. I'll click on login. Now you can see it is displaying create food product and create worker. Now if I provide the wrong details, the details which are not present inside the database, I click on login, you can see the login page again, it is reflected. Now I want to display the way, like if details are provided which are not valid, it has to display invalid credentials, and it should display the login page. So for that, what we have to do? So in that case, first we have to use the print writer. Here I am using here out dot print ln. I'll use center tag, front tag, h1 enter, invalid credentials. Invalid credentials to be displayed now. I'll save the, after saving the class, we are using these tags, and so, this out object is key. Okay, out means print writer object is provided by the response object, and so in the response we are providing the invalid credentials. So we have to set which type of format we require. So we have to set the response dot in the HTML format, set content type, set content type text slash HTML, and invalid credentials should be displayed along with that login page also should be displayed. For that we have to use include method instead of forward. Better you keep it down. will be using include. Good. You have to use include method in order to display the web page along with this some other data. Save this. So now we'll be validating with invalid credentials. I'll click on login. Now you can see we are successful in displaying invalid credentials along with login page.